back once more, English version, let's go. Folks, I'm Jill, you know me, and today I'm very pleased to be here with a good friend of ours, Daniel, if I'm not mistaken, or Dan, I'm not sure, again.
As you like.
Anyway, so he's actually called the Metal Inspector on Instagram and social media, but mostly Instagram, if I remember correctly. And yeah, so we had this idea, both of us, that we do an episode together over a certain band we most appreciate, both of us. And yeah, so that's why we're here today. So welcome to the show once more.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, the plan, and we don't have a plan, to be fair. We like a certain band from the US, a progressive metal band. But it's not only progressive, it's orchestral, it's folky, it's... Yeah, how to explain what this famous band, WILDERUN, or is it WILDERUN, we actually don't know. And that's also the first question we are going to ask you guys out there is it called WILDERUN or WILDERUN? What do you think, Dan?
I think it's called WILDERUN because of the E between the wild and the run.
Yes. Yes and no. No? I mean, I have no clue.
I mean, when you listen to their music, they do take you on a wild run, but I still think they're called WILDERUN.
That is, yeah, that's not wrong actually. That's a good conclusion. But yeah, so apparently the name, as far as I know, the name is from a fantasy book series called the Shannara Chronicles or something like that. And it's basically a city that's named after this WILDERUN or WILDERUN, whatever. And yeah, so we are big fans of this band. In any case, they did quite a few records that I would say blew us away too.
Absolutely, yeah.
To say the least, and that's why we're here today. So this is basically another of these uncovered episodes that we do over at Comedy. So yeah, today we want to talk about WILDERUN. I will be mixing up the both. I know it anyway. So yeah, so what does WILDERUN mean to you? How did you get to know this band?
First, I found out about them in 2019 through their album Veil of Imagination. Mm-hmm. And I remember at the time I was reading metal websites and reading reviews, and I stumbled upon a really great cover. I loved it. I want to check, oh, what's that? And I saw great ratings. I checked another great rating, perfect ratings. And I was like, okay, I gotta check this out. And yeah, it turned out it was was very different for me, because at the time I was listening mostly to melodic death metal, some black metal, or more classical death metal. And here was now a band that was something a little bit like Opeth, but I would even say even more majestic.
Yes.
Very beautiful.
Yes.
And it's usually a term you don't use in metal so much, because when we think of metal, most people think of headbanging, moshing, wild crowds.
Yeah, basically aggressive stuff.
Something very aggressive, dark, gritty. And here's something that you can just say, it's beautiful, and yet it's still metal, and it's very, very interesting to listen to.
That's true. I mean, me too. I got to know WILDERUN with this infamous record, Veil of Imagination. And as you say, the artwork, the cover front, also got me, because it's not something you would see at the time, roaming around the metal area. Maybe Dream Theater would probably use similar settings in terms of colors and stuff, but never so, pretty, to be fair. And yeah, Veil of Imagination I think was the record that, in that case, both of us got really hooked to and thought like, how come I never heard of this band? And that was actually their third record already, so we missed quite a few things. And only last year in 2022, they released their latest album, Epicon, which was, again, let's say it was, we knew what they were going to do, but they still managed to release something that we did not expect in certain ways. And yeah, I mean, WILDERUN is really different. And to me, if I think of a way how to explain WILDERUN to somebody, I would basically just say, you step into a flower meadow and you just sit there and you listen. And as you say, it can be beautiful, and it is not like it doesn't have to be aggressive, but yet it is.
So, yes, it can be. There have parts in some songs that are really wild, very brutal in a way. And I think that if they only did that, if they were only a death metal band, they would still be fantastic.
Yeah, true. But then again,
but they want to be something else.
Yeah.
Something very
definitely.
unique. They are also like inspired by many different types of music, if I'm right. So all the members, they have different musical preferences, and each one brings their own ideas, and they somehow create this really unique mix.
Yeah, because I can't think of. I mean, I'm sure we missed out a band somewhere. There are similarities to Opeth. There are similarities to, again, Dream Theater, stuff like that. But there's not one band that is doing the things they do in that way they are doing. And I think that makes them a bit more outstanding than, in my opinion, nowadays, Opeth. I'm a big Opeth fan, don't get me wrong, but Opeth did very good in the earlier years, and I'm just not that interested anymore in their more like prog rock, psychedelic stuff, because I think it lost a bit of that mystical stuff that WILDERUN is still achieving on very high levels, to say the least. And it's quite fresh, let's say. I like it's like a fresh kind of progressive way of portraying metal and the beauty behind metal that is actually there. But most of us, and as many of you out there, there are so many genres that get mixed together, and that sometimes work, sometimes they don't. And here is definitely true that they work.
Yeah, I don't think that they're the only band that have this kind of style or try to bring in other influences, like from folk or from symphonic metal, but they just do it in a way that it sticks with you.
Yeah.
For instance, I was now, while preparing my thoughts for this episode, as I listened to all 4 albums again, and when I was listening to their second album, Sleep at the Edge of the Earth, there's a particular pattern that keeps coming back. So in any song, they have a certain melody. And the melody is very accessible. So anybody could listen to it. Everybody would somehow appreciate it. Yeah. And they have a way of writing their songs that the melody keeps coming back in a certain way, but through different instruments. They can be playing it with the electric guitar. It can come back through the vocals, through humming, through a piano, or maybe through a harp or the mandolin, but it keeps coming back. Yeah. And yet it doesn't feel forced. It has a very organic flow, and it's almost relaxing to listen to.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair though, I will just go through my experience with WILDERUN. So after Veil of Imagination, I started at the beginning. The Of Olden Tales and Deadly Trails was their first record. Yes, it was good. It definitely has some flaws, because compared to Veil of Imagination, it's definitely not as well produced. I think we can all agree on that. But then again, already there you could notice the stuff that Dan just mentioned now, is that these patterns, this intertwining between the songs, this red line that just continues going, that was already there. Honestly, I did not get too much involved with the first record, except maybe songs like Soundcatcher, that was really catchy in a sense. And then Sleep at the Edge of the Earth was, as you say, super relaxing. I mean, the first 3 songs, I was like, is this the same band? Because it is, again, totally different, and yet it is still the same. And yet it is different. So yes, we might seem and sound confusing, but I think Sleep at the Edge of the Earth is maybe their most experimental. Even though Epigon is maybe the most experimental I've ever heard, but I think in the way they play with chill acoustic vibes and folky stuff on Sleep at the Edge of the Earth, they never did that again after that, in my opinion. But again, that's only my opinion. So,
well, I think the in the first album is the one that is the most different.
Yeah,
I find it's very uplifting. It's very folky. It feels like you have bards that play metal. Yeah, like at a medieval festival, you could play this.
A bit like a power metal vibe.
It has definitely some power metal vibes, yes. And personally, I prefer my metal a little heavier, a little bit more complex, or even sad in a way.
Yeah.
But you don't find that on the first album, not so much. Sleep at the Edge of the Earth is more experimental. It is also more atmospheric. I think it's also heavier in certain ways.
Yes.
And I think with that album, that's when they found what they want to sound like.
Yeah,
the first album was more like we're going to do something that's fun because we're good at it. And they really show that they're really great musicians.
Yes.
They're very good on their instruments, absolutely no doubt about it. And they keep making things interesting. They don't just make chorus and verses. They don't do anything like that.
Yeah, it's still super progressive and it's still super catchy. Yet it's not it's not their best work, but it doesn't mean it's they are bad musicians or whatsoever. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
now, it's an outstanding album. It's just that in comparison to the other three, the weakest.
Yeah, it's the weakest. Yeah,
and I think they would probably agree with us there.
I hope so.
I hope so. I mean, I don't like to use the word weak because that sounds like it's not really good, but it is very good. And I reviewed all 4 albums on my Instagram page, and I still gave it a rating above 9 out of 10. Yeah. So that means it's an excellent record through and through. Yeah. Just that the other 3 are a bit more interesting and even just a bit more avant-garde in a way.
Avant-garde, and I think also more personal in a way for the individual musicians, because Olden Tales and Trails is a bit all over the place. Sleep at the Edge of the Earth is, in my opinion, maybe the most romantic of the records in terms of, first of all, lyrically and atmospheric wise. Is really. Is it the most beautiful record they did until now?
I would say Veil of Imagination.
In its all, though? Really? Okay. I mean, there are certainly a few songs that I would agree with you on Veil, because Veil is super experimental at the beginning, and I think at the end it really goes into this a bit more, I wouldn't say slower pace, but in this, we reached our peak, we reached our climax, so to say, a musical climax, and then we end with When the Fire and the Rose Was Won, which is my favorite track of the record, to be fair.
Okay.
I just love the orchestral madness that goes on at a certain point when the flute and everything just collides together, and then it really fades out. And then yet they come back with a heavy ending and they tune down, I think. So it's really weird, but I can't explain.
The last part is a spoken part? They finish a poem.
Yes.
And that's also how they start the album.
Yes, exactly.
So like that you can kind of listen to it again.
Yeah. And that's again this red arrow or red line that goes through, which again they did on Veil of Imagination. Yeah, I mean, as you hear, we are big fans, and I think we could discuss for the whole day for WILDERUN records. But in any case,
track by track,
that will be insane, but not impossible. So we might be back in a few months doing that. But yeah, we have some more episodes covered with our good friend the Metal Inspector, and I highly suggest also that you go and read his reviews, not only on WILDERUN, but he does excellent reviews. So I mean, WILDERUN is probably my biggest discovery over the last 10-15 years. I have not found a band until now that had such an impact on my way of appreciating orchestral and folky stuff as they did. So that's my latest point of view.
Yeah, I can't really say if they had the biggest impact on me. They're just one of those bands that I hold very dear. Because of not only because they're so unique, but just because it's so interesting what they do. There are lots of other bands that I really like and that kind of shaped my taste. I could talk about those also for a pretty long time.
I mean, we can do this again.
We can do this again. But if there's one thing I don't like about WILDERUN, it's just the fact that I've never seen them live.
Yep, I agree.
And so that's something on both our bucket lists.
Yeah. They were supposed to come this year. I think since we are from Luxembourg and hardly any of these bands we really appreciate stop over in our small country, which is a shame. But they were supposed to play in Cologne or Antwerp, I think, and the tour got cancelled out of, I think, first of all, financial reasons. But I could be mistaken. So in any case, that's definitely a thing I want to see them live, because I cannot imagine it. Does it have to sound the same? Like, if you go to concerts, do you appreciate concerts that are unique in a way because they are not as the record, or do you like, oh no, I need my song to be as it is on the record? I mean, personally, I like it when they just do their own thing, even though if it's not on the record. Just saying.
Well, I don't want to go to a concert to listen to the exact same thing that I've been listening to in the car, let's say. So I do like it if it sounds a little different. Of course, this is a band that uses a lot of, let's say, softer instruments. They don't just use electric guitar, bass, and drum. No, they use a lot. They use I wrote it down: the mandolin, for instance, the harp, the flute, the piano, the hammered dulcimer. And so I'm wondering how they would incorporate all these different types of instruments in a show, because they cannot have a separate musician for everyone. For each instrument. So I guess they would use maybe samples, or they would use the keyboard. I don't know. So it definitely would sound different.
Yes.
And I think that the softer parts, they wouldn't sound as calm and as relaxing as on the album, because you're on a live show. It's loud. You're going to hear the drums and the guitars probably a lot more. But I'm pretty sure it's going to be a very interesting experience, because they're great live musicians apparently. And as I said, we need to find an occasion to see them. Another problem, of course, that they have is that since they are from Boston, and traveling to Europe for them is expensive, so they probably end up losing money than actually making money.
Yeah, that's true. And then again, recently, as you might know, with all the merch, I wouldn't say robbing, but it is a kind of robbing.
It's a controversial topic. Yes.
It is a very controversial topic. I mean, we both like our merch. We like to support bands, but I understand if they can't make it to Europe, or other bands equally, because it's just too damn expensive. It is expensive for us to travel. So imagine like going through a whole band with musical equipment and stuff is going to be a financial dilemma, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
So but we fingers crossed. Who knows? I mean, they announced that they are probably trying to maybe end of the year do another Europe tour. Even though it's small, I would travel to London to go and see them. So no problem there. But in the meantime, we haven't seen them live. That is mainly, I think, one of the reasons why we are so eager to finally see them live. Because, as you said, it will not sound the same, because it can't, basically, because musically is impossible to. They would at least have 4 or 5 other guys on the stage, because I will just compare it with a concert I've seen a few years ago. I had the same thought and the same, I wouldn't say fear, but I went to see Helveti, Swiss metal band, melodic death metal band. They played here in Luxembourg, and I thought, damn, they are like 6 people on its own, and they are playing several instruments. Again, slower ones like hurdy-gurdy and the flute. How will it sound live? Will they achieve like bringing these instruments like not only to your ear but to the stuff you know, and then again trying to yeah, play it in at least in a way that you recognize it and that you feel the same emotions listening to the songs. And they delivered, I have to say. They really delivered, and I hope that all these folky and those bands that have several instruments on their records, that they are at least trying to show that, okay, we can not only do this heavy shit we're doing, but maybe also like with the middle part, like, okay, I will play some mandolin or whatever. I would really appreciate that, and I think we both agree on that showing off your skills is always a good thing, and I'm sure that WILDERUN is definitely one of these bands that will deliver live, I hope. So again, we talked a lot about the earlier records, so let's go to our favorite record, and then Epigon, the last one. That's where we are standing, the epic one, the Epigon album that came out 2022. What were your thoughts? Like, I mean, we both knew that a record was coming, and what were your expectations? Did they deliver in terms of what you expected, or was it different? Or
it was definitely different, but it still sounded like WILDERUN, especially the first half of the album. It was usually the different transitions from the harsher parts and then to the more beautiful parts, and always like evolving and adding new layers to it, and yet it never sounded like over pretentious or like too much, but there's always like they keep a focus in every song, and you had that here as well. What surprised me was the last part, Distraction. It's like 4 songs. The first one is calmer, the second one is heavier, the third one is a little bit both. And what struck me the most was the final part, Destruction Nulla.
That was,
And I was wondering, what's going on here? Am I on the right record? Did my player, I don't know, skip to another band? Because all of a sudden it sounded really dark, like something I would expect on a black metal record. Very, dissonant and
a mess, basically.
A mess, yes.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, is this what you want to do in the future? Because I would be all in for that. That was a big surprise, leaving Epigon.
Yeah, I agree with you, because again, the previous records had this epic finale that I expected it on Epigon, and I got a bit. I wouldn't say I definitely got distracted, and that's why I think they called it Distraction, the 4-piece song. But Distraction Nulla is so strange. Is it black metal, or is it just, in my opinion, I think I'm wrong, it's the whole record just in reverse and sped up, and then again played in forward, and they both mixed it together. But my question was, why would you want to finish on something like that? I mean, do I get it? Yes and no. It's a bit I
think you're not supposed to get it. They if you also look at the artwork, it's just basically clouds with some colors. It's very beautiful, but it's also a bit mysterious. And I think that's the idea that they want to have on this album, that you don't really know what is going on in the end.
I read an article a few months ago, because again the record came out last year, January, and the cover is from an artist I follow who plays with colors in an aquarium tank, and he takes pictures of that. His name is Kim Kiever, and several other bands, if it's metal or especially electronic stuff, like to incorporate his art in their music. And the things he does is really weird, because he explained it, and he said, I'm pouring water, color into water. What do you expect? I don't know. And that was basically his thing, and I think why they went with this particular piece is, compared to the Veil of Imagination cover that is strange, beautiful, and yet it symbolizes what WILDERUN is. This is totally the opposite. It's like, what is this? Why? First of all, Epigon. I get the title definitely, but the cover was a bit. I wouldn't say a letdown, but it was definitely not what I expected. And yet, after listening to it, as we both think we agree on that, yeah, you are left with something that makes sense, even though it doesn't. Is that strange? I think, but does it make sense to me? Yes, definitely.
Yeah, there's some sense in the contradiction. Yeah, in on the Veil of Imagination cover, you have this tree. It looks like a tree.
Yeah, but it looks like a head.
It can also look like a head. It has these beautiful flowers on it. But yes, it's very colorful. It's bright. It's clear to the eye.
Yeah.
And whereas with Epigon, it's blurry.
Yeah.
And I think that's just the idea. With Veil of Imagination, you got a fantastic. I mean, it's a fantastic album. It's just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
But it's clear of what it wants to be. With Epigon, I was listening to it while driving here, and still I don't really get it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Not sure if that's a good thing, or if that is the intent.
If that's what they were going for, and I mean, why not? It still sounds, at least a good 3/4 of the record sounds like WILDERUN, and then again, it's this famous last track that just leaves you in awe, and you just realize, well, what were they going for? Why? And will they continue stuff like that? Again, yes, why not? And you are left with a bit, not like a proper finish. It doesn't feel like a proper finish. To me, it's more like this could have been the let's say the opener for the last track. That will last 15 minutes, like in WILDERUN or progressive metal style. Yet it didn't. It just finished after that. And I think the message. Was it voluntary, or was it their idea to leave it out like that? I'm not sure, but they just left us all with like, oh, that's it.
I think we have to wait for a few more years until they solve that problem.
Maybe.
We need to wait for the next album. But speaking of albums, I mean, what I really also appreciate is they remind us all of how important the art form of an album as a whole piece it really is. Because today we live in a world, we have short songs, some hooky, catchy elements in it. It needs to go into your brain fast, it needs to stay there, and then it can leave. And so having an album that is 45, 50, almost an hour long, finds less appreciation, even in the world of metal. I mean, I review albums, but seldom do they actually feel like such a coherent unit. They will often feel like a sequence of songs, but not on their albums.
Yeah, that's true.
That you don't even notice that you're actually in a different song.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fact for many, especially progressive metal bands. But then again, as you said, yes, the industry is like this nowadays, fast, and I would say heavy and fast, at least for the metal part, and it needs to be catchy. And I agree, some do work very well. Does it fit for WILDERUN? Not really. Do they want that? Not really. I don't think so. And I think, as leaving us astonished on how they would end the record, for example, Epigon, just leaves you with this, I wonder what they will do next. And I think that was maybe the goal, to just leave you this with this question looming over your progressive mind, like, honestly, I have no clue what they are going to do next, because
they may not know themselves.
They probably don't know, but do they care? I don't think they do. They will just do whatever they want, and that's I really appreciate that. I mean, we both also, just to open an exclamation mark here, we both are big fans of Neobliviscaris. I would not compare them to WILDERUN, but again, their writing style in terms of how they will progress a record is very reminiscent to WILDERUN. Or both have like similarities, definitely. And then again, their songs are 15 minutes long. Do I want that? Yes, I do. Do I want that all the time? Not necessarily. So it's really like difficult for us metalheads and you out there to like appreciate the a record in general in its full length, because sometimes it can get messy. For example, Epigon, that you're not really sure what to think after the record is finished. And yeah, I mean, Epigon is still a great record. I had it on my list for top records of the year 2022. I think it definitely deserved the spot because I still listen to it a lot, and I still don't get it, which is the funny part. Also, I mean, that's good. If you are able to talk about a record 1 year after release, is already a gift. Because let's be honest, the record it comes out, it has like it reaches its peak maybe in a few weeks, and then it's I wouldn't say it's gone forever, but it is done. You know.
It's if you listen to albums that came out a long time ago or even a year ago, especially for me, I listen to new albums pretty much all the time.
Yeah.
So going back to something that I know, that means I must crave it. There's a need for it. And but funnily, this Epigon was an album I didn't go back to much last year. I reviewed it in January, and after that it was kind of a little bit close, maybe because I didn't get it, and I didn't feel the urge to listen to it again. But at some point when I was actually listening to Veil of Imagination again, at some point I just felt like it, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to give Epigon another try. Yeah, okay. Great, it's fantastic. These are my thoughts. This is what I was thinking. Oh, this is good. This is fantastic. And then, now what again? Okay, I'm gonna have to try again. And that's really what I appreciate so much about this album. It does this on purpose.
Yeah, totally. I agree.
It's like a David Lynch movie.
Oh, good comparison. Yeah. That's a good comparison, actually. Yeah, you want to, but you don't want to see certain scenes or want to get too much involved, because you know that some characters are probably going to get fucked up or stuff like that. And on the other hand, you're rooting for some of the characters in this. I mean, Twin Peaks would be a perfect inspiration for WILDERUN. It could work.
Maybe they are listening to us and.
Well, that's one of the reasons why we are switching to English in this episode, because usually I'm convinced that none of you might understand what we are saying if we speak in our local tongue. So you're welcome, guys. So WILDERUN, if you're listening, we are craving new material very soon.
Yes, please.
But then, sorry, I just knocked the desk very hard. Anyway, I had the same experience, just to again talk about Neo Obliviscaris for a short second. I had the same experience I had with Epigon with the latest Neo Obliviscaris record, Exul. I listened to it and I did not get it, and I listened to it quite a lot, even still now, and I still don't get it 100%. Even though it's a great record and it's fantastically written, and musicianship, we don't even talk about it, it's phenomenal. But there's again this certain thing that, and I think many newer progressive metal bands put a lot of time and effort and money in that case creating stuff that will not necessarily get you hooked right away, but will make you think, I need to listen to this again, because there's something there. I just either couldn't hear it or I missed something, and that's something I really appreciated for both bands, or many other bands that we both know.
With Epigon, I read that they considered this album to be more introspective, so more thinking about themselves, about what's going on inside of them. And how often do you really know what's going on inside of yourself?
Good question. Yeah. That's.
Do you know topic. To what extent do you know yourself? You might.
Yeah, we think we know.
There's always like
we know.
We think we do, but there's always like a certain kind of blur.
Yeah.
Regarding to your own personality, your character, your emotions, your spirit, whatever you want to call it. And so maybe that's how they transpose that idea into their music.
That's a good point, actually. I mean, it is definitely difficult for all of us one day you're feeling crap, one day you're feeling great, you don't know why. And this introspection, I didn't know about that, to be fair, for the Epigon record, but yeah, it is definitely one way of portraying a record, which is definitely not easy, trying to achieve a certain emotion or several emotions. And honestly, and I think we've been at it like for over 30 minutes now already, so time is flying very fast. I think we are wrapping it up very soon.
Yes.
But what would be your message for people who have not listened to WILDERUN or WILDERUN?
Well, it would be easy, listen to it, but you need to listen to it with an open mind, and with the desire of, let's say, dedicating an hour of your life to just listening to their music. Use some good headphones. Don't get distracted by whatever it is. Don't listen to it while you're doing the dishes.
Yeah, just put your phone away.
Yeah, put your phone away, unless you need your phone to listen to it. But then put it in your pocket or whatever. Don't. And then really listen to it with a lot of focus, and then see what how you appreciate it.
And with that, I think that's more and better said than I would ever do. So I would like to thank you, Dan, for being...
Well, thank you for having me.
No problem. Always a pleasure. And I think we are probably planning on doing some more of these. Because again, we like to expand our listeners in terms of language. So we might hear both of us here again very soon. Thanks again, guys. Thank you out there for listening, and see you guys very soon. Cheers.
Cheers.